The iconic Rebel line gets Honda's Unicam parallel twin heart, which makes it big enough to be a serious ride but also small enough to be approachable. Honda continues to expand the footprint of its new Rebel line that recently replaced the old iconic line with the bagger tastic 2023 Rebel 1100T DCT. The new Rebel brings a whole new level of utility to Honda's cruiser lineup. Honda started out with the Africa twin powerplant but tuned it to suit cruiser use, starting with a 32% gain in mass for the flywheel. This extra inertia boosts the low-down grunt numbers and makes it pull with a will. The Rebel 1100 DCT produces 86 horsepower and 72 pound-feet of torque. Horsepower maxes out at 7,000 RPM, but the torque tops out at 4,750 RPM to give you lots of tractable power low in the rev range. It's just the thing for pulling out of the hole when the light goes green. This liquid-cooled parallel twin engine has an oversquare layout. It has a 92mm bore and 81.5mm stroke that gives it a 1083 cubic centimeters total displacement and a mildish 10.1:1 compression ratio. Honda's Unicam valvetrain keeps the top end uncluttered by actuating all 8 valves all by its onesies. A 270-degree firing order gives this parallel twin a lope at idle that's not entirely unlike a V-twin. The large firing delay gives the rear tire a chance to get a bite before the next power pulse hits to improve traction on loose and slippery surfaces. The engine relies on a dual-axis balancer to mitigate a significant amount of vibration before it puts your hands and butt to sleep. Power flows through Honda's proprietary dual-clutch transmission that uses separate clutches and a pair of main shafts to turn in a twist-and-go riding experience. A ride-by-wire throttle works with a trio of riding modes that let you dial in the power delivery by changing the shift intervals. If you prefer to time the shifts yourself, there is a manual mode, I'd call it a semi-automatic mode, that lets you shift by button both up and down the range. Torque and wheelie control features come stock to help you manage the mill and stay between the stripes. A Tuffo ring change drive carries power to the rear wheel with an overall drive ratio that turns in a Rebel 1100T top speed of 102 miles per hour. The new Rebel line cuts quite a different figure than that of its forebears, but the fresh look seems to be catching on quite nicely. Honda took something of a minimalist approach to the design and left it raw looking with a dearth of body panels and visible framing to give it a rugged industrial vibe. All-around LED lighting ensures that you can see and be seen. The classic-looking round Cyclops headlight rocks, not one but 4 LED projectors to pierce the night. The base platform remains the same as its siblings, as does the overall look, except for a few important additions that make this a T model. Those are the front fairing, windscreen and saddlebags that add up to 35 liters of dry storage. More storage is under the locking seat with 3 liters of storage and a USB-C charger that charges your phone for you while underway. A single round digital gauge handles all the instrumentation and ride control electronics. The flangeless 3.6-gallon fuel tank contributes its camel's hump to the flyline ahead of the stock solo saddle. Pillion pads are available from the accessories catalog, along with passenger pegs if you want to share the fun with a friend. The Rebel family in general leaves little to the imagination, so the tubular frame is well visible stem to stern. Rake and trail are set up for a bit of stability at 28 degrees and 4.3 inches respectively. When combined with the commanding posture afforded by the rider's triangle, it should provide plenty of leverage and control with low effort even at speed. A set of 43mm telescopic juice forks floats the front end on 5.5 inches of travel, while dual Showa shocks handle the rear on 3.7 inches of travel. Both of these are sufficient for civilized roads. An adjustable preload feature is the only suspension tweak, but at least it applies to both ends instead of just the rear. Lest you fret about the cornering performance, this machine can dip as deep as 35 degrees to either side in a curve, which is more than most cruiser-type bikes available today. Certainly it's more than my Sportster, to be honest, so cornering should be fun. Cast wheels round out the rolling chassis with a 130/70 ahead of a 180/65 to give it more of that custom bike look. As for brakes, The front end mounts a single 330mm disc and 4-bore caliper, while out back a 1-piston anchor bites a 265mm disc. Both ends come with stock ABS. Yummy goodness.